Hello and welcome. My name is Stephanie Adams and I will be the host for this TLC session. We are excited that you have joined us today for Innovation in the College of Liberal Arts. Please welcome Dr. Adam Selhorst.
Afternoon, everybody. I'm glad you could join me today. I'm not able to see the chat bar while this goes on. So if you're talking there, I'll just ask maybe Stephanie can shout out any questions that may come up during. But other than that, so I'm Adam Selhorst. I'm the Executive Dean for the College of Liberal Arts at Ashford University. And I was asked to give a little bit of update today regarding innovation in the College of Liberal Arts. Let's see if I can get this to advance. So I'm going to talk about four things today, starting with academic chatbots, getting into some social learning groups, talking about office hours and how we can do that a little bit better in the online environment, and then talking a little bit about multimedia incorporation into the classroom. So, for the last, say, 20, 25 years, online education has really been a little bit stagnant. We've seen technology really start to run rampant in other areas, but the online classroom has looked very similar for a very long time. And even as we've started to see big strides with things like adaptive learning and stuff like that, for the large part, you see, write papers, let's have discussion boards, and the classroom has really stayed in this kind of box. And over the last year or so, especially in the College of Liberal Arts, the faculty and myself and some of the other deans have really started to look at, what's out there. How can we provide a more interactive experience with students who are, 500, 1,000 miles away, maybe in another country even, and how can we really bring the material more to life than just, hey, let's write a paper, let's do a discussion board, without still having to have students really be present in a synchronous capacity. So that is one of the things that a lot of our student population who are adult learners still can't do. But we've started to see technology move in and be able to offer us some maybe some new ways of looking at things. And I'm just going to kind of share some of those that we've already started to pilot and maybe some that we're looking at for the future. So the first one I want to talk a little bit about is academic chatbots. And so, what we're really referring to is what you've probably seen with a lot of organizations as far as bigger companies. The banks love to use chatbots. It's where we're getting a lot of kind of feedback of, oh, can I have this work like the Bank of America chatbot or the Chase Bank chatbot, where you log onto a website and you have a problem, or maybe you don't even have a problem. Before you have a problem, a little bot pops up in the corner of the screen and says, can I help you? And you're able to ask it questions, and it's able to, for the most part, answer your questions in basically immediately. And so it works really well for certain organizations. Like I said, especially large corporate organizations where you don't want to pick up the phone and call them because that's going to lead to voice prompt mess and you being on the phone for 30 minutes or being on hold. And maybe you can just ask the question and get an immediate answer. So if it works so well there, why can't it work in academics as well? Especially in our modality where you're not going to be going into the classroom and sitting there with the faculty member. So is there a chance for a student that has a question to have a chatbot in the classroom where they can ask it a question, they can get an immediate answer, and it should speed up the learning process for them. So the first thing I put on the top here, one of the reasons we're really looking at this is faculty response time, right? So faculty are human beings with lives and jobs and everything else. Maybe even especially in our associate world, a lot of them are working during the day, so they're maybe answering at night. So maybe a student has a question at an off time, or they are looking for a much faster answer than 4 to 8 hours. I mean, even if a faculty member is just absolutely killing it and they're answering answering questions in 12 hours, there still may be a weekend or something where a student really needs that answer because they only have a couple hours to work on it. So maybe a chatbot that could answer these types of questions can allow a student to really get that immediate feedback. The other thing we learned when doing background research on these is that students tend to ask the bot more questions than they'll ask the faculty member. Which brings us to two kind of conclusions. One, how can we get students to be more open with their faculty, ask more questions? But secondly, so if we can incorporate a bot, maybe we'll actually, the student will learn more as they feel more open and asking more questions. And the reason for that is real simply, students have told researchers and surveyors that they don't want to ask what is seen as a stupid question because they feel they'll be judged. But the bot will not judge them, so they have no problem asking the bot, all sorts of questions. And again, that I think that says a lot about, we need to do a better job as maybe faculty members and training faculty members in assuring that students, that we're not going to judge them if they ask a question that they see as a stupid question. But still, it's human nature, right? Students are worried that their faculty member is going to, think they're less intelligent or something if they ask a question. So the bot takes that out of the equation and maybe gives them this opportunity. Secondly, just real simply, it might improve student-faculty engagement in that instead of the faculty member answering the same question over and over of, where do I hand in this lab or that lab? Where do I put my assignment? I can't find Grammarly in the classroom. Things like that are all taken care of so that the faculty can focus on more in-depth questions that are more concept-based. They've got a lot more time to reach out individually to students. And the idea there is that can really increase engagement as they're really focusing on that. Additionally, the bot, some of the bots have ability to text students. So we've seen, for instance, a bot that Georgia State University is using will actually reach out to students and say, how's your summer going? Now this is a different setting, right? They have more traditional terms and students, but it'll actually, the bot will build relationships with students that they actually saw were leading to more students coming back to college and more students starting and enrolling in the university in the first place, which is a little interesting. But you can use the bot to send regular reminders, for instance, like, hey, your assignment's due tonight, don't forget. Hey, we've got this one coming up next week, you might want to look ahead. And so that's another opportunity that the bot could really improve engagement within the students and kind of provide reminders and things like that. And then also, you can see some student-to-student engagement hopefully increase with the bot as it can prompt students to respond to other students, and can also, some of the bots actually have a kind of student-to-student interaction portal, and I'll talk about that here in a second. So we piloted this with a group called Differ that's actually run out of Europe. And this is just a real general sample of what the bot looked like from a standpoint of this would be online. So some of the bots are on people's phones. Some are we would like one integrated into Canvas that's right within our classroom. This one was integrated both on the phone and on a web-based app. So this is if you went to the web-based app, this is what it would look like. And you see on the left-hand side, you have just listed Sci 207 bot. We tried this in the Science 207 class. And then you have some other stuff here that I'll talk about in a minute. But if they go right to the bot, it's real simple. They ask the bot a question. So here's an example right here. What is a scholarly resource? And the bot answers. So if someone has asked something similar before, maybe this answer is helpful. It explains what a scholarly resource is, and then asks, did I answer the question? And if you say yes, it says, cool, happy to help. What do you want me to do next? So this is a real kind of rudimentary form of this, and a kind of example of what it might be able to do. So this is a screenshot from the live bot and the kind of questions that it could answer. If it doesn't answer it, so the top was an example of I asked it something really complex to trick it so that it wouldn't know. Essentially what it comes back with is send an email to your instructor. You'll find the email address in Canvas. Normal response time is 48 hours. And then it also prompted if they wanted a faster response to reach out to their fellow students. And again, something that I'll mention in a minute here. So, so this was a real general form of it. We found that students were definitely using it, but it wasn't integrated into Canvas. They had to go outside to this other site to get into the bot. What we're really looking for right now, and what we're hoping to find early in 2019, is a bot that can integrate right into the classroom. It'll be right in the corner. Students can just ask it questions as they move through their course, and it should be able to provide us, the student really with that immediate feedback. The interesting thing that we got out of this pilot, other than the fact that students want to use it, is that this also had student groups here. So on the left side here, you'll see the second link under it was like a student group for the class. And basically what it was is it was just like a social learning community. And it allowed students to get in there and talk to each other, essentially. So what we learned was that the students really liked the student community capacity of it. So this is kind of moving into a new topic, and I'll move through this one into really what is a social learning group. And it's the ability for students, students on ground get in the classroom, right? They're all sitting in a room together. You may break into groups to talk. You may after class talk, before class. And then, when you're on campus or whatever, right, you make your friends and you end up studying together. And this is kind of the online version of that. So it allows students to talk to each other, to share concepts, to share, tips, or, oh, I learned this trick for learning this material, to ask questions. And we found that the bot group used that actually even more than they used the bot, which was kind of surprising to me. I kind of assumed that, you always hear a lot of times people complain about group work and things like that. So sometimes I think maybe they don't like that social part of it as much. But what we found is that they really liked it and they really used it. And so what we did is we broke out into a second pilot on just social learning groups. And what we did here is we took WhatsApp. So most of you have probably used WhatsApp before, but just in case you haven't, it's an app that's owned by Google. And essentially you can create groups of people without necessarily having to pay for text data messaging or anything like that, but you can put them all in this one group. And basically you can text each other. So it's basically a large texting group. However, there is a desktop app for it just in case people don't have smartphones or things like that. And here's an example of it, just a picture here on the screen. You've got on the left here, generally if it's one group, you've got a list of all the names of people that are in the group. And you can hide phone numbers and things like that from other people. You can just join the group, and they don't necessarily see your phone number. They just see your name or whatever username you want to share. So you've got everybody thrown in together without having to really give out any personal information. And then you can just chat, basically, like a group chat. And so what we're doing here, and I did it in one small group basically of about 180 students this year, and it was wildly successful. Basically what we did is posted a link in an announcement first week of the course and said, hey, here's a WhatsApp group if you want to join. The instructor is going to stay out of the group. It's basically just going to be for you guys to talk to each other. Keep it civil, but use it to share questions. So this is almost like another bot, only you're asking live students, ask questions, share concepts, share personal information, pictures, videos, and that's exactly what we found happening. So the students got in there. The first thing they did is it usually started with one or two students being like, I'm really confused about this, I'm confused about that, is anybody else having a problem? And they'd start to kind of, somebody else would chime in and answer the question, which again is taking really stress off of the faculty member. Also building a relationship between students, which is something that can sometimes be missing in the online modality. And then they started sharing personal information. So, they started sharing pictures of kids and friends and things like that. And it stayed very civil and it really ran really well. We did a little post survey after, and the students absolutely loved it. And so in early 2019, we're going to move forward with a larger pilot of this, see how this moves forward. The only real concerns with this, again, are ensuring if people don't want their personal information shared, that it's not really shared. And secondly, inevitably, when you throw a bunch of people together, they try and date one another. That's the only thing I've found a lot. They'll all try and find each other's phone numbers or find each other on Facebook or ask each other out. So making sure that it stays kind of a collegial, professional environment, which is, pretty easy to do. We have the same scenario come up occasionally in discussion boards and things like that. So it's not really a big difference, but this has been, I think, wildly successful. And even if we decide to move forward without WhatsApp specifically, some sort of social learning group, I think, is becoming kind of, I think, paramount in the learning process for the students. Another one that we looked at this year as well is live office hours. So this is one that's been tried a few times in the past in kind of different formats, and we keep kind of trying to tweak it. Essentially, a lot of faculty say, well, if I have an office hour, no one ever comes, and this is also extremely true at traditional on-ground universities. When I was teaching at Ohio State, say a class of 300 students, I think in 3 years, I had about a total of 4 people come to office hours, and those are 300 student classes. So, so they're not coming to office hours in traditional setting either. So, but just having that available, we believe, number one, really helps tell the students that the instructors care. They want to be there. They want to help as much as they can. Secondly, I think it's like a safety blanket, right? It's there if they need it, even if they don't necessarily use it. And so what we decided to do is do a pilot where we're doing 1 hour a week. I basically asked for instructors to volunteer, and a whole bunch of them did and said, yeah, I'd love to do this. And so what they would simply do is post an announcement saying, all right, this time of the week, I'm going to be there for an hour, and I'm going to do it through, this is Big Blue Button, which is integrated into Canvas. So you can run this directly through Canvas. The students can go in, they're thrown right in there, and the students can see the faculty member, they can hear the faculty member, and you can have it just like a live office hour on ground. And it essentially offers the instructor a chance to give other information in the form of some kind of standardized lecture if they want, to directly answer student questions. And then again, that social interaction again, so that the students get to talk to the faculty member, they also get to talk to each other. And what we did find is, in general, it was very minimally attended, as we fully expected. But what we did find is that if we recorded those office hours, so what I told the faculty were, you're going to have office hours where nobody shows up. You're going to have office hours where one person's there. So prepare a little, something. Maybe it's 5, maybe it's 10, maybe it's 15 minutes. You know what the difficult concepts are this week. Prepare something really explaining those, something that will really help the students through it. And then if nobody shows up, push record and just run through that, And then later, after the office hour is over, it automatically uploads to Canvas. And you can post an announcement and say, hey, the office hour is up if anyone wants to watch it. And what we found was that while very few people were attending the sessions live, a lot of people were watching them afterwards. And even when the faculty member wasn't even providing necessarily that, they were watching to see what kind of questions other students that might have come with. So I think what it's kind of showing us is that, and we're not done with the full analysis, it's still running. We still have a lot of faculty members that are doing this and providing me with data, and I'll pull it all together on another 3 months or so and see really how well attended and how many people, counts of how many people watched them afterwards and things. But I think what it really tells us is that students are enjoying it, or at least want it if we can do it, even if they're not there live. So maybe it's just that media interaction or that explanation in coming directly from the faculty member that they like, but students really are, in a way at least, utilizing it. So we're looking at how to best maximize this potential. Maybe this isn't the best way to do it through Big Blue Button. Maybe an hour is too long. Maybe the hour needs to switch every week. Maybe it needs to be a weekend sometimes. And we're looking at all those kind of factors now. And that kind of leads me into the next one as well. So we saw that, I think a big portion of the reason that students are watching the videos later is it is a lot of times an audio or visual explanation of a difficult concept in the course. And while students, students learn different ways, right? So we have some students that can read the textbook and just get it, and they move on, and they don't want any part of watching additional stuff or anything like that. Some students read the textbook and it is completely foreign to them, and they're like, I need somebody to help walk me through this. And I think those are the students that are really watching those videos and kind of yearning for that greater interaction in that kind of more explained kind of answers to some of the concepts. And that's where I think a greater use of multimedia in our classrooms is one of the things that I think in some cases is lacking. I think all 4 colleges and Doge have started to really work on this more of how to get better use of multimedia tools in the classroom to really grow this kind of interaction. But what we're trying to do now in COLA, so we're currently building a course. It's going to be a general environmental science course, a 100 level course that will be a gen ed competency course as well, that will essentially be run in a very modularized format using a whole bunch of video interaction instead of more of a read the textbook, that kind of interaction. So essentially how it works is the student goes into week 1, they click on week 1. The first thing that comes up is a video of the instructor introducing the week. So they'll give a real quick breakdown in 2 or 3 minutes of here's what the week's going to be like, here's what you're going to learn. And then it'll immediately move on when the video ends to concept 1. And this is kind of a lot like if you've seen competency-based programs or adaptive programs. It's in a way like that with just a little bit of more of a melding with our current structure. So it'll move on from like an intro video into concept 1. So let's say, for instance, the week it will be climate change or something. So then there'll be a short video on climate change. And when I say short, I mean literally like 3 minutes. These are just real quick videos that explain really the difficult concepts. So it may be like, hey, here's what climate change is. I know everybody has a hard time understanding this part of it, so explain that in 60 seconds or whatever. And when the video's over, then you'll get into kind of some of the materials as far as reading, graphs, charts, whatever else you want to help explain it. And then right after that, you may have a 2-question quiz or a 1-question quiz, so that it kind of triggers them to remember what they just did. It kind of makes sure that they watch the video. So maybe there's 20 of these little quizzes throughout the course, and they're 1 point each, right? It may be a nice grade booster, but it also forces the student to watch the video in order to get the questions. So, and then these are generally gated, so you can't just click on everything and move to the end and be done with it. You have to work through the course in the sequence that the course was designed to work in. Just like our current courses, we may integrate discussions in there, may put all kinds of other interactions in there. Maybe, when you think of discussions, you maybe think of of what a lot of universities do now, where they just ask a question and you just post a discussion. But they can be a lot different than that. They can be, some of them can be audio, there can be visual ones. There's a bunch of different ways to do it within the classroom. And then we're also going to utilize, it's a lab-based course, so it's also going to utilize simulations. So there'll be a lot of simulations mixed in. And the idea is, we don't know how it's going to go. The idea is we want to see if students like this kind of setup better. Do they do better in this kind of a format? And again, not all students learn the same, right? So some are probably going to hate it and some are going to like it, but what is that proportion in the long run? Are they going to do better or worse? Again, some will probably do better and some will probably do worse. And if that's the case, then we'll decide, all right, well, how do we meld the two maybe together a little bit better so that, so that in the long run, students are essentially doing the best that they can. So this is another thing that we're going to focus on. We're building right now. We're going to look at it in Q1 of next year, see what it looks like, and if it's successful, then you might see this kind of stuff maybe rolling out or rolling into other courses. We're probably not going to just magically go to some new format of courses or anything like that, but what we like to do in all of these pilots is find out what worked best, what didn't work, try and pull out the good things, leave the bad things behind, and then integrate them in basically as much as we can. So I know I talk really fast, and that was kind of a really quick rundown of some of the stuff that that we're currently working on. But I wanted to leave some time for questions. And now
there was one question a little bit back, so I'm not sure what part of the presentation it was, but by John Ackerman. Can the course instructor intervene to correct mistakes or stop bad behavior?
So I'm guessing this was for WhatsApp, because I did say that your instructor wouldn't be in there. So for the pilot, what we're going to do is we're going to have one basically administrator put them all together, like put the groups together and send the links to the instructor, so that the instructor will just dump the link in the classroom. And then whoever the administrator is overseeing the pilot, they'll go through and make sure that nothing inappropriate is happening. But for the pilot, we'd like to keep the faculty member out so that the students feel comfortable talking about things. But that administrator will be in there, and it'll be a faculty member, somebody with academic experience that's making sure that they aren't cheating, or that there's no bad language or sexual misconduct or anything like that going on in the classroom, right? And then in the future, maybe we decide, all right, we like this, but the instructor should be in there too. We can always go that route, and that would, I bet that would be double-edged. So if we offered that, I think some faculty members would like it because they can interact with their students in real time, and some would hate it because their students kind of have access to them 24 hours a day. But that's something we could look at too.
As of now, that's the only question.
Okay, so any other questions regarding any of that, or anything else? Maybe you have other ideas that
faculty through the sticky problems
want me to talk about.
Back to learning. I think Millie then has a special kind of.
All right. Well, you can feel free to contact me anytime. My information's on the screen there, and I'm always here, so I will respond if you've got anything for me. But other than that, thanks everyone for joining me. I appreciate it.
And there's a lot saying thank you back. And I thank you very much for your presentation, and for all of you for joining. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Thanks a lot.